At exactly 5:04 a.m. and 45 seconds, the silence of the Ukrainian border was broken as two M30A2 guided rockets cut through the sky. Their path was invisible to the human eye, silent to the ear, but each carried a deadly order. Just 75 seconds later, the stillness of Belgorod's countryside ended in an inferno. A makeshift Russian airfield, nothing more than a crude staging ground, became a furnace of fire and steel. For helicopters, two Ka-52 Alligators and two Mi-8 MTVs were turned into burning wreckage in less time than it takes to draw a breath. No alarms sounded, no defenses responded, no crews ran to safety. In less than 5 seconds, an entire flight group was erased. This was not random shelling, nor the chaos of conventional artillery. It was the deliberate precision of modern warfare, a strike planned with exact coordinates, calculated to the second, executed with flawless timing. And the message it sent was unmistakable. Even inside Russia, far from the front, there was no sanctuary. Moments before, at 4:59 a.m. on July 5, 2025, a Ukrainian command post hidden near Okhturka received data from a reconnaissance UAV operated by Special Operations Forces. The drone had discovered what every artillery officer waits for: a perfect target. A temporary helicopter staging site lay exposed in rural Belgorod, less than 20 miles from the border. At least two Ka-52s and two Mi-8 MTVs were parked on the open field. Ukrainian intelligence reported that Russia planned to use them in a low-altitude raid, Ka-52s providing fire support, Mi-8s ferrying special forces tasked with disrupting artillery command centers near Sumy or Bohodukov. The timing could not have been better. The aircraft were vulnerable, caught in the middle of refueling and rearming. Their crews were absent. Their defensive umbrella was non-existent. There were no short-range missile systems, no perimeter guard, no combat patrols. Just millions of dollars worth of combat machines sitting in the open, waiting for their mission. The decision was swift. Forward Command gave the order, strike. At 5:40 a.m., Operation Eagle 24 came alive. Concealed between two low hills in the Okhturka region, two M142 HIMARS launchers rolled into firing position. Mounted on 6x6 wheeled chassis, the systems were disguised with thermographic mesh and camouflage netting, blending into the cold terrain. Satellites scanning from above would see nothing more than shadows and contours of the land. The crew was small but lethal: a fire control officer, a navigation technician, and two artillery operators. Every movement was precise, every step rehearsed countless times. Live coordinates streamed in from Ukrainian Special Operations scouts operating near Belgorod, while a tactical UAV transmitted constant surveillance of the target zone. The fire control computer received encrypted uplinks, inertial guidance was double-checked, and within minutes, the data was locked. Maximum time allowed from confirmation to launch was 15 minutes, but the team needed barely a third of that. At 5:53 a.m. and 38 seconds, the firing sequence was ready. The settings were exact: azimuth at 36.5 degrees northeast, elevation at 54 degrees, winds measured at 8.5 miles per hour east, visibility at 8 miles, temperature hovering at 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Two rockets, both M30A2S, were armed. These were not blunt weapons of destruction. They were engineered for surgical devastation. Each carried an alternative warhead filled with more than 182,000 tungsten fragments. Unlike deep penetration munitions meant for bunkers, these were designed to shred everything exposed, to create a vast spherical kill zone stretching more than 300 feet in every direction. Against helicopters sitting on open tarmac, it was the perfect choice. At 5:54 a.m. and 45 seconds, the fire control officer pressed the trigger. Twin lances of fire roared skyward, separated by only 1.66 seconds, following diverging trajectories that would converge upon the same target. Within moments, they accelerated to nearly Mach 3 before settling into a Mach 2.2 cruise. Skimming through turbulent atmospheric layers, they vanished into radar clutter. For Russian operators, the sky remained empty. For 90 seconds, the rockets were invisible, ghosts cutting through the pre-dawn air. Then they crossed into Belgorod Oblast, just 11 miles from their mark. At their velocity, Mach 2.4, time to impact was little more than half a minute. At 5:55 a.m. and 52 seconds, the rockets entered terminal attack mode. Their guidance systems adjusted to a dive angle of 38 degrees. The first rocket bore down on the Ka-52s, striking at 5:56 a.m. and 2 seconds. The detonation erupted between the two gunships, scattering tungsten fragments in a cone of death. One Alligator disintegrated instantly, its rotor hurled more than 100 feet away. The second was slammed sideways by the overpressure, its tail torn off, its fuselage twisted into a burning wreck. 2 seconds later, the second rocket struck above the Mi-8s. Programmed for an airburst 30 feet over the ground, it erupted in midair, sending a reverse cone of destruction downward. The first Mi-8's nose section collapsed under the overpressure, the fuselage crumpling before bursting into fire. The second caught the brunt of the shrapnel, igniting instantly. A secondary explosion followed, even larger than the first, consuming the staging area in a fireball nearly 70 feet wide. Debris scattered across hundreds of feet. A cockpit door landed nearly 200 feet from its origin, while a rotor weighing more than 600 pounds plunged straight through the roof of a nearby hangar, collapsing it in flames. From a command shelter 20 miles away, Ukrainian Special Operations personnel watched via infrared feed. The screen lit white, then orange, as ground temperatures surged past 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit at the blast center. By the time Russian radar systems registered abnormal disturbances, the strike was over. The helicopters were gone. The HIMARS crew was already retreating into cover, their launch site abandoned and cold. At 5:56 a.m. and 40 seconds, UAV imagery confirmed the devastation. Rotor fragments, torn fuselage panels, and scorched wreckage littered a radius more than 300 feet wide. A Ka-52 tail fin was embedded in a fuel drum, smoldering like a grim marker of destruction. 5 minutes later, Russian quick response teams arrived from a nearby garrison, but their mission was meaningless. There were no survivors to rescue, no aircraft left to recover. All they found was twisted metal and a thick column of black smoke clawing upward into the morning sky. By 5:30 a.m., Russian Operational Command in Belgorod had frozen all helicopter operations, halting air support missions intended for Sumy and Kharkiv. 4 hours, Moscow's Ministry of Defense said nothing. Only later did a statement appear, vague and evasive, an unidentified explosion near a rear logistics area. But commercial satellites exposed the truth by noon. Infrared imagery revealed unmistakable thermal signatures and fan-shaped fragmentation patterns, characteristic of M38-2 rockets. Independent analysts confirmed what Russia refused to admit: 2 Ka-52s and 2 Mi-8 MTVs have been wiped from existence. The strike's cost to Ukraine was less than $10 million in rockets. The damage inflicted on Russia was over $50 million in destroyed aircraft, plus a critical disruption to helicopter operations along the Sumy-Kharkiv axis. For nearly 2 weeks, Russian low-altitude air support in the region collapsed. Belgorod's forward deployment hub, one of 3 vital bases, was gone. This was not just a tactical strike but a demonstration of modern precision warfare. A single HIMARS battery had crippled a forward staging ground, showcasing how speed, accuracy, and surprise could change the shape of a battlefield. Russia scrambled to respond, ordering fuel depots and ammunition stockpiles moved away from staging areas, deploying additional radar and electronic warfare systems, and for the first time sending Panzer S-1 air defense units to temporary forward bases. But the truth had already been burned into the earth. The Belgorod strike was more than an operation, it was a declaration of a new reality. In just minutes, a 4-man crew with a handful of rockets had rewritten the rules of war. No zone was truly secure. No machine was truly safe. And in that fiery morning, Ukraine proved that even the heart of Russia's rear lines could be turned into a graveyard of steel.